Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to a new video, and welcome to Moscow City. Have a look behind me. All the skyscrapers of Moscow City right here. Now I've come to Moscow Convention Center, which is that direction. Anyway, we're gonna go and take out a bus and car convention, and it really focuses on electric vehicles. So let's head on inside and check it out. As I'm walking on inside to find the bus convention, there is actually another convention that's ended a couple of hours earlier than when I am arriving now. So lots of people are coming out of this convention center. There's actually, most of the times when you come here, there's 3 or 4 conventions that run consecutively. So lots of people are coming out as I'm going in. What I'm going to go and see is a little bit smaller than some of the events that are held these few days right now. So I'm going to navigate my way through the traffic and find my way into the bus convention. Walking on inside the expo. This isn't a particularly big expo compared to some of the others that they hold in Moscow. It's quite specific about the technology that they're showing and the different aftermarket products that are coming to Russia or are currently available, and the new advancements. The point for me to make the video is to come and see the buses. Looking at it now, walking around ahead of time, there's obviously a little bit more than just buses here. So hopefully we can find some interesting things to talk about walking around the different booths. There's a very interesting thing that happens in Russia a lot. Whenever you see balloons on something, particularly a shop or a shopping center, you know it's something new and something interesting. Now, I've come across this gazelle here. Now, when I catch my bus home and to and from the metro station, I've got to take the gazelle. But this is a bigger version, and this is, a little bit smaller than a full-size bus. But this is the gazelle. Now, what's interesting about this bus now, it's not a new bus. It's about 4 years old, but they have contactless payment right here. And also the driver has a card reader right here that he can bring if you've got a different type of card to pay with. And the bus here inside, these are actually really nice. They're not particularly big. They're more designed for smaller town and village routes rather than in bigger cities. But what's the cool thing is something I'm going to show you in just a second. Now they have a laptop set up here, and then there's a bigger screen over here as well. And what this company is promoting is actually the tracking system for the buses and the GPS units that the buses have got in them. So you can actually live track where the buses run and where they are on the routes, how many people are on board them. And there's a whole screen here. This is a demonstration one. They would have more of them set up. But all across Russia, this system can be pulled up on a screen, and you can see all the buses live in one screen, which is super interesting. Now, my bus that I catch never seems to come on time, and it's always not exactly accurate to the trackers. So this new technology, or improved technology, should help out if my bus that I catch ever gets this system. Well-known bus brand in Russia is KAMAZ, and they've got one of their electric trolley buses here. Now the easiest way to recognize that it's a trolley bus is to have a look on the roof. So this is electric powered, but it needs the cables or the lines on the streets to operate. You can see the 2 poles that would retract right here. So this is one of the new models of KAMAZ trolley bus. This is actually a 2024 model, so we're actually seeing it before it's available. And there's actually a video running here, which is pretty neat, and showing the operation of it. And this is actually also showing the electric version, which I've done a video on, the electric charging. We're going to see that bus shortly, and this is super interesting. We might go for a little wander inside and see how it feels. On the video here, you can actually see the trolley bus going along the cables. This is pretty neat. Of course, you can go outside and see them as well, but the buses are right here in front of me. And the whole point of this is it's using electric power that's going to the grid versus having to use fuels like diesel or gas or petrol. Oh, there's the bus in St. Petersburg right there. All right, let's go check it out. Now, the one thing that's interesting, now, depending on how often people catch buses, it's got two doors. So there's a door for the driver on the right, and then the door for the public. So the driver's got his own door. How nice is this? I've never really been in the driver's seat of one of these buses. So all the different screens. I know for sure this is the camera, so there's cameras in the bus. So it's monitored. Front-facing cameras, rear-facing cameras. It looks super comfy for the driver. He's got his own compartment, and then changing sides. There's the card reader there for your payment. So there's no interaction with the driver whatsoever. He has a little door that he can open right here, or a screen where you can talk to him, but most of it's all DIY. Do it yourself. And then coming on inside, of course they don't have the lights on in the bus, so it's a little bit dark, but there's different seat heights. So there's these front ones that are a little bit raised, and then there's the lower floor level ones, which are much more comfortable for elderly or people with prams or with canes. One thing I noticed on other buses at a recent convention was they've got the touch screen buttons right here for the stopping. So if you're blind, it's got Braille, which is an interesting feature. They're really trying to make these buses as accessible as possible. There's also some pop-down seats and where you can put prams, maybe somebody with a wheelchair, or even scooters or bicycles. And they're really very nice buses. You can see here that different height of the seating, so you can get a nice view if you like, or you can sit lower down. And they've got the interactive screens, so you know what the route of the bus is. And as it points out right here, USB. So these little boxes on the handrails are USB. These buses are also heated as well, so air conditioning in summer, heating in winter, which is an absolute must. You come from the cold and you get in the bus and it's nice and toasty. Now the bus right next to the one we were just in is an electric bus, and this is actually built in Ufa, which is my wife's hometown. And I was really happy to see these guys. They're also from Ufa. These are the guys that are from the company and the factory. And this one actually is full electric powered. It actually has a charging cable, so it's charged overnight from a base station or wherever they choose to park it for charging. This is a really nice bus inside. And this is essentially the competition to the KAMAZ electric buses. But have a look inside at this thing. The very nice padded seats. Now I'm hoping not to be biased because my wife's from Ufa and this bus company's from there, but you know, it's just very nice when you walk in. They've also got the lowered seats here as well. A nice easy press button to tell the driver to stop. This has also got their air ride system, so they can lower the bus at the stops down to a more comfortable height to get on and off. Also heating in winter. There's these nice big touch screens, or interactive screens. You wouldn't really touch them, would you? But they still call them that. That tell you the route of the bus. It even tells you the distance and time to the next stop, which is super interesting. I've ridden buses similar to this in Moscow, and you can actually have a look how close you are to the stop you're getting off. Have a look. Whoa, this is very nice. And the reason it's all kitted out in blue is because they're looking to bring this into the Moscow transport system. And this is the common color of all the buses in Moscow. From outside, it's a really nice looking bus. Now, I know not everybody's gonna have that same excitement when they see a video about buses and transport, but it's definitely a niche amongst people who like to come to these events, like to ride public transport, maybe even like to do what I call train spotting or bus spotting and looking for these new models on the road. There is also one of the Chinese companies here as well, called Yutong. Now, most of these buses run on the longer distance routes, so not necessarily in the cities around Moscow, but over longer distances, 50, 100, 200 kilometers or more. And there's actually some of these buses in operation where I get my bus from in Moscow, and perhaps this is a slightly newer model, but they're very common in Russia. I don't think there's too much that changes in long distance buses. I think one of the main things that they try to do is get comfier seats, get more arch and back support. These also have the seat belts in as well. Because it's running long distances, they encourage people to wear seat belts. So that's kind of a good thing, I think. Let me know on the buses that you catch. Do you click the seat belt when there's one there? When I sometimes catch this bus from my house into Moscow, it comes along the main highway. I always ask the driver, can I sit in the co-pilot seat? And very rarely do they have anybody sitting here, because obviously it's the main passage on and off the bus, but it's a very nice spot to sit in, and you get a nice view out the front window. This expo is also dedicated to other forms of transport and transport of the future. And they have here the Lotus. And I'm pretty sure I've seen this before at one of the other auto expos in Moscow. It's a pretty neat car. The only thing is it doesn't have a very neat price, but I think depending on your budget, 16.5 million rubles. But, oh, it's four-wheel drive as well. The Lotus Electra S is this model. And I think this lady wants to get a photo, so I'll get out of the way. I've definitely seen these cars before, so if you are a viewer of the channel, you might have seen one of my other videos where I've shown transport. And this is the Hi-Fi. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm not describing it correctly. The Hi-Fi Z. And this one is 10.9 million rubles. This is a crazy looking car. It's almost futuristic looking when you have a look at it from the outside. Just reading a little bit of the statistics from the sign right there, it's got a range of 705 kilometers, which is a very big range for an electric car. Obviously in Russia with winter, that would greatly reduce, particularly when it gets to -10 or -20. And I just found this interesting here, 672 brake horsepower. Now, I've got another video on the channel, either you've seen it or it's still coming out, about Lada, and the Lada Niva Legend had 83 horsepower. So this thing leaves it in its dust, but it's a little bit of a different car, of course. I was hoping to get in the passenger seat, but there's no door handles. There's just a flush system. I wonder if there's a camera or a waving system to get in. Looking in the boot, it must come with the smart charger for the wall, so you can put that on the wall in your house or your garage. Then you can charge it right from that unit. So that's handy that it comes included. I just needed to have a look inside this Hi-Fi car. I didn't get a close look at it when I was at one of the other expos. And it's got the screen right there. How big is that thing? Right on the dash. And this is super fancy. And these seats inside as well. It's finished in like a purple color, which is very different. And is the door going to close for me? And let's see if it'll open. Maybe it's not my luck. Perhaps it's fingerprint red from the owner, I wonder. What do you think, everybody? Do you want a hi-fi? The electric vehicles continue, and there is a truck here called Brock. And I would have to think that it's perhaps from China. They're using an English word for the brand name. There actually is nobody here at the booth to ask about it, so it's interesting. And this is actually electric powered. You can see here they've actually got the back of the truck open, so you can see all the charging functions. Now I think, looking at some of the signage here, I think it gives it away that it's made in China. But has anybody heard of a Brock truck before? Maybe they've got one in the country that you're watching from. Almost every expo you go to, they've got some kind of a open mic or a forum talking about transport, and some of the different company leaders are here, and they've got Q&As going on and talking about the future of Russian transport. My main goal of coming to this expo, although it's not particularly big, was to see some of the buses and see some of the cars. And there is also quite a few other smaller booths here with some of the individual technology for public transport. And it's just something that you just don't think about. You know, when you get in a bus, you think everything in the bus is from the same manufacturer, but so many of them use third-party companies for specific technology that they add into the bus later. I have a big smile on my face as I'm looking at these little vehicles right here, and as the lights go off, I was just chatting to the lady about the vehicles, and these are made in Tula, so they're actually Russian made. Now, what I found the most interesting, as they walk by and wave, bye, до свидания, thank you so much. The lady gave me some famous Tula gingerbread, and it's actually a really big box of it, so I'm going to enjoy that later. But the lady that was just waving right there, I was talking about that I'm from Australia, and she said that she's afraid of spiders. And I'm like, oh, it's not a problem, you know. And I said we also have snakes, and the lady has snakes in her house. She has 2 snakes. She has a cat, she has a dog, and the story was more interesting about her and her pets than these trucks that we're seeing here. And these are actually battery powered. Now, the one thing I was asking particularly was about the manufacturing. So this is made and assembled in Russia. The only part that is not from Russia is the battery, and the battery cell is from China. Fairly sure that's a common thing for all electric vehicles around the world. It's something that's not so easy to design and make. But how neat are these? This one is designed for golf courses and resorts. This small truck here, I'm not sure where you'd use it in Moscow. It's very, very small. And the other one has set up the washing for streets. So this is more for in the small cities or big cities. They do have something similar to this in Moscow that they use that's got the sweeping brush function underneath. But this one's got the jets for washing the roads and footpaths. But how cool is that? And I got some gingerbread. Who would have known that there'd be so many different booths at these expos talking about all of the technology that goes into public transport. And this one actually has the tracks for the trams and the technology that goes into the signaling and the train integration. Wow, I'm learning something new every day. Walking around, I've come across an electric scooter. Now, these aren't overly practical for Russia. These are really only usable in summer and autumn time, like the weather is outside now. But what's very interesting is the way that you can change the batteries in these. Now, these different boxes that you see right in front of me here, they've actually got the replaceable batteries. So rather than having a fixed battery cell inside, you can actually lift the seat of the bike, take out the battery, and you can literally put it straight in the bottom here. So you take one out, and you can put one in, and then you put that second one in the box on charge. And these guys are super happy to show and demonstrate this to me. Of course, I've been to Bali and Thailand, and electric scooters are a big deal. But this is something new for Russia. The guys were telling me that at the moment they've got some of these in operation in Brazil, which is a long way from Russia. These are actually made in Russia as well and assembled locally. But for me, the interesting thing is this battery replacement. So rather than you having to plug in the bike to a local charger, you can find one of these charging stations. So these would be in shopping centers, car parks, and then you can actually just swap out the batteries like you saw the guy do there. He just opens the cupboard, and easy as that to swap them. I've always wondered when I go to catch the bus where the signs come from, and it looks like this is the guy right here. And they've got these mostly in the train stations, but these are the electronic units for the readiness of the buses. This is pretty much the most common one that I've seen throughout Moscow. It tells you the different bus routes and the time of arrival. Obviously these are linked into the GPS of the buses, so it can be very, very intuitive if you're at the bus stop and you want to know what time the next bus is. I was very interested. This lady right here has got this one small booth set up, and I was curious what she's doing, and it's a booth about employment on Russian transport. So maybe if you want to work on the metro or the trains, this is where you come and inquire about employment. Actually, at the nearby metro station to where I am here, there's also an employment office where you can go into and sign up. It's super interesting that they've got a booth here at this Transport Expo. I've spotted a very interesting booth here, and this gentleman's actually selling the pins of all the different types of transport, particularly Russian transport. So all the different types of trains and buses, railway stations, and they've actually got magnets as well of different railway stations throughout Russia. Well, this is super interesting. I never even knew that this sort of thing exists. I mean, of course, if I go to a souvenir shop, I've seen them, but I would never think that there's a person behind it all. Check out all the different types of the trams and trains right there. Does anybody collect these? Let me know in the comments. Is it something you'd be interested in? And maybe you do trading with each other. But how cool is this? This expo that I'm at here is really not designed for the public. It's mostly for business to business transactions, and a lot of it is to do with the different technologies that are in the buses and different systems, mostly safety systems. There's also a lot of emphasis at this event on electric charging and the different technologies that are coming to Russia, but it's taking a little bit of time. Obviously, there's a lot of impracticality with electric vehicles in Russia because of winter and the cold weather. So although they've got the chargers and they're available, one interesting trivia is if you've got an electric vehicle and you come into Moscow, it's free parking if you have an electric vehicle, versus if you've not got one and you have to pay. I think this company is promoting the different units of charging and fuel station pumps and the technology involved in the payment system. Looking down from upstairs, you can see all the different booths that I've walked around and had a look at, and it's really not particularly busy when I've come here today. It's actually over 3 days, but it's quite specific technology that they're promoting. It's not even really for the public to come here to these events, so I'm very lucky to be able to get a pass to come here and show it to everybody. there is one more bus up on the upstairs level here, NKTC. And this is a completely new bus. This is actually a concept bus, if you like. It's not in operation in Russia just yet, but this is also an electric bus, but it actually has different technologies. So it actually has the cables that you can see right at the top here that will come up to the cables in the streets, and it also has a battery inside for cable charging, which is where you'd plug it into a device somewhere and charge the bus. And it's also got the dual doors as well. Not too sure what the purpose it serves to have the double doors. A driver right here and someone having to play with all the buttons, and then coming inside. Looking in the driver's cab here, of course they're very basic in design, but a lot of the technology is in the touch screen. So they've got the digital dashboard there on the left, and then they've got all of the different cameras as well. This is now important for a lot of the modern buses to have cameras inside the cab and outside, and it's got all of the screen there for charging and power usage, and then having a walk around. Now the interior is quite similar to a lot of other buses. There is a lot of similar designs of buses because of the road network, particularly in the bigger cities in Russia, that require a certain size or width or length of bus. But they've got these nice lowered down seats. Underneath here you can actually see the heating system for the bus. So the actual power units for the heating is right there. This is a nice bus inside. I really like all the different colors. And even it's got the nice LED lighting as well. And then the digital screens. Ooh, that's what we saw on the dashboard there. I think they're showing a video of the technology of the bus. But that would actually display the route that you're on and the destination. This is the spot here for people with special needs. And then this also has the kneeling function as well, so the bus can lower down. There is also a panel here that can be used as a ramp to the street level if someone's not able to get on or off. It also has USB charging right there. And these lower down seats are obviously much easier for elderly people or parents with children. But there's a nice feel to this bus walking inside. And just in all the simplicity of a bus that we've always ridden all our life, and then they modernize it and put better lighting inside, better colors that just feel more relaxing. Doesn't make your trip mundane. I do have one question for everybody that's watching this video and interested in transport. Where you live in the world, do you have electric buses yet? Now, I understand that Moscow has got the largest electric bus fleet in the world, and they're making it even bigger month after month. So all these different companies producing electric buses, they're trying to find a market for them, mostly here in Russia, and the different governments in the different cities and regions, can they implement this technology? Obviously, most of the requirements to have an electric bus is to have the charging facilities, particularly if it's cable charging or fast charging. And then, depending on the city, do they have the wires in the city for the trolley bus system to operate? But do you have electric buses where you live? I think I'm going to have to leave you on a cliffhanger with the video. There is a few more of these electric cars upstairs here. There is no signage about the different models, but there is a dealership in Moscow called Frank Auto, and I met Frank and he recommended that I come to his dealership to come and have a look at these electric cars. Primarily what they have there is electric vehicles, and some of these models, and they look futuristic. When you see them on TV when they're promoting new cars, it's hard to believe that these are current models and on the road right now, but I'm going to have to save these for another video that'll be coming very soon. As I make my way out of the bus convention, this will be the end of the video. There's lots of people leaving at the same time as me. These events can be very popular because they're quite specific about the information that they're dealing with. There was another convention that finished right at the same time as me as well, so a little bit of traffic. I've got my Tula gingerbread right here. Thanks to the lady that gave me the gingerbread. I'm going to enjoy that when I get home. I really hope you've enjoyed this video as everybody's trying to get through these doors. If you really like the video, give it a thumbs up. Thumbs ups always show gratitude to the making of the video, and if you enjoyed watching it. If you want to post a comment, let me know what you think of what you've seen today. Electric buses, electric cars, electric transport, lots of interesting things. So if you'd like to see another video, I put one right here for you. You can check that out right away after this one. Maybe you want to see another transport video, maybe I'll put one there. Maybe you've not seen one of the older videos on the channel. And I'm going to make my way to the metro and head on home. Thanks everybody. Bye.